So welcome to another motivation inspiration interview. Proud to present that we have Lois Cook, powerhouse of women's American football. Lois, pleasure to meet you. I'll let Owen introduce himself as well, and we'll crack on with the interview.
Hi Lois, great to speak to you. I'm Owen Lamprey, lead practitioner for health and wellbeing at a large primary school in Birmingham called Clifton Primary, and it's a late one for me, so I've got a coffee on the side.
Thanks, Owen. So Lois, obviously, you know, you American football, women's American football, been playing for since 2002. But please tell me your story. You know, we've been doing these motivation inspirational interviews since 2020. Now over 100 interviews with so many inspirational people. A pleasure to interview. So tell me about American football. Tell me about women's American football and how it all started for you.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be included in your interviews. But I grew up loving the game of football. I grew up with my brother, who's 11 months older than I am, and so we played everything. We played soccer, we played baseball. We were, you know, always out with the neighborhood kids. We didn't have YouTube back then, so we were always outside. But we played football one day, and I just absolutely fell in love with it. The neighborhood boys were very receptive to me playing. There wasn't any kind of like, oh, she's a girl, she can't play. Everybody pretty much accepted me and welcomed me to play the sport, and I fell in love with it. So when I got to high school, that was my first time being introduced to organized football, because we didn't have, in my neighborhood, we didn't know of a recreational team to join. So in high school, I said, okay, I'm definitely going to play football. So I talked to the coach, and he told me straight up, no, that's not your thing. You're not going to be able to be on the roster, but come on out and practice with the boys. And so I did. I went out, I practiced with the boys for about a week or so. And then my best friend ended up joining the cheerleading squad. So I was like, okay, forget this. I'm going to be a cheerleader. So I went ahead to be a cheerleader for 4 years in high school. But I really loved the game, that I just observed everything that the football players did in school. The coach said, okay, if you want to play football, you have to run track. So I ran track. When on game days, they would wear their jersey, they'd carry the ball around campus. And I did. And so that I just kind of absorbed all of that. So going to college, I carried the ball everywhere I went. And I would throw the ball around campus. I just like random strangers. And one day I was met by the security guard, who actually ended up being the head coach of the women's team. And he recruited me as a quarterback. And so my world changed. I had no idea that there was a women's league, a women's team, anything like that. And there I was, the quarterback of the Atlanta Leopards. And I was just in my zone. That was like everything to me. So when I was younger, I remember people would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I'd say, I want to be in the NFL. But when I found out about the women's league, this is my NFL. So it's not about playing in the NFL with men. It's finding the women's team, the women's league is the equivalent to an NFL for me. So I'm literally living my dream.
Fantastic. I mean, you know, we have campaigns over in this country, This Girl Can, and, you know, we think about women in sport and supporting young ladies into getting to sport. And it's really important for us that, you know, we support that, you know, because everybody can play sport, and, you know, there's strong women that, you know, are pushing boundaries continuously in what they do. And you know, yourself, you do that all the time. But what motivates, inspires you and gives you that passion to push yourself?
So for me, you know, I think that just growing up and just being in love with this sport is already a lot, you know, that drives me. But when I was a little girl, I didn't have the vision of a woman on the field. So when I was in high school and I talked to the coach about playing and he told me no, I just accepted it as that was the answer. But had I seen a woman on the field, or had I known that there was the possibility of being able to play further down the line, then I would have stayed with it. I would have trained harder. I would have stayed in the game, learned the game. I would, you know, I would have been motivated to just, you know, push forward. Even if I didn't get to join the team, I would still be involved somehow. So today, you know, I look at those young girls who are out there who want to play football in school, and they're sometimes being told no, but sometimes they're able to join and they're able to play with the boys. And I'm inspired, I'm motivated by them because I want to be able to be that vision for them. You know, there are some girls who don't know how to find their way onto the field. And if I can just make an impact on one girl, one person, one woman, whoever, one boy who wants to play this sport, then that's where I get my passion from.
I mean, who you know, growing up, going through, you know, this dream about playing American football, who motivated you?
You know, I don't think I can pinpoint one person. I think my brother, I definitely followed my brother around. I enjoyed watching football on TV. So players like Art Monk were like a favorite of mine. But just, I think my brother was the person who I definitely was trying to aspire to be like. So growing up as a child, yeah, it was there wasn't like a one specific person, especially in football, because I didn't know anyone other than watching the NFL on TV.
Okay. You know, I think we talk about motivation and inspiration and the importance that, you know, we all support that, but you know, why is motivation and inspiration so important now? You know, going through the last 2 years that we've been through and everything that we're still going through with it, you know, economy and you know, bills getting higher. Why is motivation and inspiration so important?
You know what? It's so easy to give up. It's so easy to say, forget this. You know, things get hard and things get challenging, and it's easy for us to just say, okay, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm done. But when we have someone or something that motivates or inspires us, we get a little oomph, we get a little bit of energy to push a little bit further. We see more possibilities. And sometimes you need vision. So like I said, when I was a young girl, I didn't have the vision of a woman on the field. So I accepted that as a roadblock. I accepted that, nope, I wasn't going to play football. I could just observe it from afar. But to have someone or something motivate or inspire you, you get that extra drive to just push a little bit further, not knowing the outcome, but knowing that it is possible to push a little bit more.
Okay. I mean, you know, thinking about, you know, football itself, and you know, our sport is wheelchair basketball, and you know, I played it for 11 years now, and come from originally soccer. In this country it's called football, but obviously in America it's called soccer. But you know, I come from a background of sport, from general mainstream sport to inclusion, disability, adaptive sport. And then we experienced for the first time in the UK wheelchair American football, which blew my mind, to be fair. I mean, you know, you say about being the quarterback, and being the quarterback in a chair, throwing the ball, throwing this ball, which was pretty amazing, to be fair. It's because it's not about power, is it? It's about subtle twists in the hand and how you know, throw that ball. I mean, how does that support, you know, inclusion and diversity in the community and build on resilience?
Yeah, so resilience is so important. It's a skill, it's a quality or a characteristic that you build over time. And when you're able to, when you're inspired by someone else, or when you're in a position where you have challenges that you just have to overcome, and you have to find a unique way to get around those challenges or to overcome whatever obstacles you may face. For me, it was, you know, not being able to play in football. So I watched the game, I was taking it in mentally. But, you know, it's so important to see that you don't have to accept the no. You don't have to stop right there. You can overcome, just becoming creative with it, or finding your own unique way, I think is the most important thing. A lot of people compare themselves to what they see on TV, or what they see other people doing. But the thing about it is that we all have our own unique journey, you know? So it's important to know where you are in your moment, or in your sport, or wherever you are, and accept that, and really expand on that, and understand that it's special in what it is in your own way, and that you can find a way to achieve your goals just through practice and building that skill of resilience.
Thank you. we talk about young people, and when we talk about these interviews, we always think about young people and what our message would be to them. And young people go through trauma. We have lots of young people with different disabilities, and they're impacting issues through, because I work in education as well, in specialist college. So, we support young people with different conditions, it may be in crisis. But what would your message be to a young person who's going through all these kinds of different difficulties or issues or conditions to support their daily life?
So all of our situations and the circumstances around us don't necessarily define who we are. It's important to use your characteristics to take yourself further than your circumstances around you. And there's a quote that I really love, and it's that strength is not muscle. Strength is not about muscles. It's about character. And so it's all about how you are able, it's resiliency, like we just talked about, the mental capacity to overcome the circumstances around you to push yourself further. It's all of that. It's building who you are from the inside to the outside versus the opposite of taking the external circumstances and allowing that to affect who you are. You have to have the mental ability to push further and know where you want to go and be determined to get there.
Brilliant. I'm going to hand over to Owen. Owen's got a question for you. He's about education and school, and this is where usually I do all the questions about resilience and motivation and determination, and then I hand over to Owen and he talks about education and everything else. So Owen, over to you.
Hi Lois, great to speak to you. I'm a Raiders fan, by the way, sir, but that's going back to the 1980s and 90s. So the days of Jim Plunkett and Marcus Allen and people like that. So a long time ago. But given your amazing success in your own field and your influence on others, you've talked about your experiences at high school, further on into your education. But was there somebody at primary school level, so in England that's ages 3 to 11, that inspired you in any way in terms of sport? Because that's what we're trying to do at my school, and inspire young girls and boys into a lifelong sport.
Well, I think about my childhood, and the one person that really had a big impact on giving me, I guess, the mentality that I have, the mindset of being able to just go for anything that I wanted to do. And I'd have to say that's my grandfather. I was raised by my grandparents, and he was very hands-on. He worked on his car. He took us to the boat. We went fishing, and he kind of showed me possibilities that, we had an adventurous childhood. So I was able to see and explore and do things that weren't necessarily typical of a young girl doing. And so as a matter of fact, from learning how to work on cars with him at home, I ended up driving a tow truck when I was in college. But thinking about one person beside my brother who actually pushed me along in sports, my grandfather was one who gave me the understanding that I can do anything that I want to do, or be anyone that I want to be.
And what were your experiences of PE, physical education, or health and well-being, or sport when you were at school at a young age?
I was so energetic when it came to doing sports in school. I was very once I stepped on the field, I really had it gave me some kind of energy. I don't know where the energy came from, but being in the presence of other people and being able to be physical, I felt like I could exert myself. I felt challenged to do or push myself further than what I could, what I thought I could do. So I worked harder, and I loved PE. I loved being able to be out around the other kids, the other students, and to kind of, I guess, show off my skills, to show them, hey, I can do this.
That's great, and that's really what we're about at the school that I'm at. It's not just about conventional sport; it's about any way of being physically active to support your health and well-being. So that's great to hear. My final question is really centered around what we can do for the future. So you must have seen a massive development in women's sport in the US and around the world during your career. Where do you see women's sport going in the future? And what can we do to motivate young girls and boys to have a lifelong approach to learning and physical activity?
So, especially women's football is becoming a very big thing here. I've noticed it's kind of trending in a way. It's not been a common sport that's been widely accepted in society because it's obviously very different. But you see women's sports starting to pop up everywhere that you look, on social media, wherever you go. And that's inspiring within itself. But I see that women's football is going to take a significant change for the better. I think that educating our next generation, the young kids, the boys and the girls, that being an athlete is not just a hobby, it's a lifestyle. And it's something that you do wherever you go. It's how you eat, how you sleep, how you make the decisions in your life. And when we're able to empower young boys and young girls to be athletic and to get out there and try new things, and to also educate that it's okay for girls to be in sports, it's okay for girls to challenge themselves physically, then we are going to have a much stronger generation, a much stronger tomorrow. And that's only going to enhance sports for everyone. So.
That's absolutely great to hear. So it's a late night one here in the UK. I'll have my coffee now. And hopefully when I'm in the US next year, I'll go and get some women's NFL on board as well. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks, Lois. Thanks, Zoe. With regards to your own experiences, Lois, and how do you take care of your mental well-being as part of your daily life, and how does this build on your resilience and determination?
It's tough, right? Because life doesn't slow down, life doesn't stop just for you to catch up. So it's important to have balance. So for me, I have 4 kids, I have 4 boys. I'm always on the go. Plus I play women's football and it's a huge commitment. But for me, it's very important to always have balance. I like to consider myself to be a very positive person. I like to find joy in things and in moments. I look for the bright side of things. I'm very optimistic, so that when I do encounter something negative, because life will always give you something negative, they will always give you something positive, it'll always give you something negative. It's how you're able to handle that and build on that resiliency. So I always like to be optimistic and look for positive, so that when I do encounter the negative, it doesn't offset, it doesn't weigh me down. I'm still balanced in a sense. And so, yeah, so just finding balance and just knowing that if I do encounter a challenge, if I make a mistake, it's not the end of the day. It's not the end of the world. I can try again tomorrow. So just having a mindset of being determined, constantly determined, and always having a balance.
Thank you. We have a quick fire round now that we've started to put into really test our interviewees. So this is a quick 5 questions that you've got to kind of spew off or say very quickly about each one. So are you ready?
Okay.
Okay. So what is your favorite food?
French fries with a lot of ketchup.
Wow. Okay. Favorite drink?
Coffee.
Okay.
Cheers.
Favorite film or TV show?
Oh, that's a hard one. Okay, I'm gonna say Born to Play, because it's a documentary about women's football, and my touchdown is in the documentary, so that's gonna be a fave.
Brilliant. Favorite music?
I love gospel and oldies.
Okay, and our 5th question, which sometimes has our interviews a bit confused and stumped, is: if you had a superhero power, what would that power be and why?
Oh, I have to pick one.
You can only pick one.
Okay, so that's a really hard question. I think it would be to teleport.
Okay.
I don't know. I'm always on the go. I got to be able to get places quickly. Whatever superpower I have, I want to be able to help or impact someone else with it, though. So
brilliant. We've got 2 more questions before we finish, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you about resilience and determination and motivation and inspiration. But what is the future goal for Lois Cook?
My future goal is to make an impact on women's football, and whether that's big or small, whether I reach just one person or many people, I want to be able to know that I made an impact, that I made a difference in this sport. It was my passion growing up. It's still my passion today, and I'm living my dream by playing. And so I want to be able to make it possible for other women to play, but at a better level, at a much higher level. We're playing at the highest level, but we still have a long ways to go. And so my goal is just to move that needle and make the next generation have a better playing field.
Brilliant, thank you. Our last question, it relates to motivation, inspiration quotes. But if you could think of a quote to support motivation, inspiration, what would that quote be and why?
I would have to say, it's a quote that I live by, and it's, I'll find a way or make one. Because for me, you know, football has always been very intrinsic. It's a drive that I have, that I've grown up with, and it's always been a part of me. So I know that if I have a goal, if I want to play football, if I can't find the way to get there, I'll make my own way to get there. And so it's important that whenever you have a goal, no matter what the goal is, if you have a passion in life, no matter what it is, it's possible to achieve it. You just have to have a little bit of vision, a little bit of possibility and creativity, and you can achieve it. It doesn't matter what or how high or how far that goal is from you. Make steps and make progress every single day. Try to make little steps to make progress, or make big steps to make the progress. But regardless of where it is or what it is, you can always find a way.
Brilliant. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, Lois. And as I said, we were introduced to American football a couple of weeks ago. The first time that wheelchair American football was introduced into the UK. We watched a couple of videos in America, and to be in a chair and play this amazing sport, which kind of is another adaptive wheelchair sport that we can add to our kind of bow, because we've been playing wheelchair basketball for over 11 years now, and to add that to another sport which really defines that kind of inspiration about what you're talking about is a fantastic thing to do. So again, pleasure to talk to you, Lois Cook, powerhouse of women's American football, and continue what you're doing. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. I shall send you the interview after it's been recorded. I'll edit it where necessary. I don't think it needs that much editing, to be fair. I mean, apart from Owen's jokes occasionally. But thank you so much. I hope to see more social media views about American football from your point of view, and even about what you eat during your training sessions.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Maybe one day I'll make it out to watch you guys play.
Brilliant. Absolutely, we'd love to. I mean, we are looking to increase the sport, and we are being involved in the first 6 teams in the UK for wheelchair American football at Oxford University. So it should be really interesting, because the floor is all neon, so the lights come from up under the ground, and it's going to be all razzmatazz and everything else. So that should be really interesting.
And what's so great about it is that you never know who's watching. You never know who wants to play, or who just doesn't know that it's possible, or that it is something out there. So keep doing what you're doing. I love that so much.
Thank you, Lois. You take care. Stay safe, and a pleasure to talk to you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.